I got invited to a super deluxe resort to deliver a speech to what I assumed would be 100 or so investment bankers. It was by far the largest fee I'd ever been offered for a talk, about a third of my annual salary as a professor at a public college, all to deliver some insight on the future of technology. As a humanist who writes about the impact of digital technology on our lives, I'm often mistaken for a futurist. And I've never really liked talking about the future, especially for wealthy people. The Q&A sessions always end up more like parlor games, where I'm asked to opine on the latest technology buzzwords, as if they were ticker symbols on a stock exchange. AI, VR, CRISPR. The audiences are rarely interested in learning about how these technologies work, or their impact on society, beyond the binary choice of whether or not to invest in them. But money talks, and so do I, so I took the gig. I flew business class. They gave me noise-canceling headphones to wear and warmed mixed nuts to eat. Yes, they heat the nuts. As I composed a lecture on my MacBook about how digital businesses could foster circular economic principles rather than doubling down on extractive growth-based capitalism, painfully aware that neither the ethical value of my words nor the carbon offsets I had purchased along with my ticket could possibly compensate for the environmental damage I was doing. I was funding my mortgage and my daughter's college savings plan at the expense of the people and places down below. A limo was waiting for me at the airport and took me straight out into the high desert. I tried to make conversation with the driver about the UFO cults that operate in that part of the country and the desolate beauty of the terrain compared with the frenzy of New York. I suppose I felt an urge to make sure he understood I'm not of the class of people who usually sit in the back of a limo like this. As if to make the opposite point about himself, he finally disclosed that he wasn't a full-time driver, but a day trader a bit down on his luck after a few poorly timed puts. As the sun began to dip over the horizon, I realized I'd been in the car for 3 hours. What sort of wealthy hedge fund types would drive this far from the airport for a conference? Then I saw it. On a parallel path next to the highway, as if racing against us, a small jet was coming in for a landing on a private airfield. Of course. Just over the next bluff was the most luxurious yet isolated place I've ever been. A resort and spa in the middle of, well, nowhere. A scattering of modern stone and glass structures were nestled into a big rock formation, looking out on the infinity of the desert. I saw no one but attendants as I checked in, and had to use a map to find my way to my private pavilion for the night. I had my own outdoor hot tub. The next morning, 2 men in matching Patagonia fleece came for me in a golf cart and conveyed me through rocks and underbrush to a meeting hall. They left me to drink coffee and prepare in what I figured was serving as my green room. But instead of me being wired with a microphone or taken to a stage, my audience was brought in to me. They sat around the table and introduced themselves. 5 super wealthy white guys, yes, all men, from the upper echelon of the tech investing and hedge fund world. At least 2 of them were billionaires. After a bit of small talk, I realized they had no interest in the talk I'd prepared about the future of technology. They'd come to ask questions. They started out innocuously and predictably enough. Bitcoin or Ethereum? Virtual reality or augmented reality? Who will get quantum computing first, China or Google? But they didn't seem to be taking it in. No sooner would I begin to explain the merits of proof-of-stake versus proof-of-work blockchains than they would move on to the next question. I started to feel like they were testing me, not my knowledge so much as my scruples. Eventually, they edged into their real topic of concern. New Zealand or Alaska? Which region will be less impacted by the coming climate crisis? It only got worse from there.